Okay, let's look at CheckValidMove first of all. So here the problem is you can currently move off the board. So if you're on the top row, you can move north and you've moved off the board. If you're at the left hand edge, you can move west and move off the board. And in the VB solution, that gives you a runtime error. So we need to add some validation. Let's have a look at the Visual Studio Code. So the setup I've got here is that I'm using the diff files Visual Studio tool just to show differences between files. It'll just be a convenient way to show you what code changes I've made. You can, and then I suggest that you go to the solutions folder and actually get the the VB code that that has all of the extensions in. Okay, let's go back to the monster code. So yes, I'm using this diff files tool, which then shows the previous. So this is the original monster OOP Visual Basic code, and I'll just show you. So what you needed to do here was go into the CheckValidMove function. And remember now, it's a function, but remember it's a method of the game class. So let's go back up to here. Module there. Where's my game class? Here. Game class. So CheckValidMove is a method within that class. As it's a method, we can access all of the private attributes. So if we're on the top row, basically we need to test the position of the player, and we have the player object here is available to us because it's an attribute, a private attribute within the game class or game object once we are running. So classes are instantiated to give us objects when we're running the code. So so any methods within this class will have access to all of these private attributes, including the player. So if I just scan down to the play method here, validation, so the possible moves are displayed to the user here. The user enters their move here and move direction, and that move is passed back into the move direction variable here, local variable, passed into CheckValidMove. So that's what we had originally. No change in the new code, but what we can do in that method is to say, okay, I've got the direction passed in that the user's put in, but now I can find the player's position. So I can find using the player object and then the get position method. In VB you don't need this open close bracket, but I like to put it in just to show it's a method rather than an attribute, but it does work without these. And then if you remember, player.getPosition returns you a cell reference, which in the VB is a structure that's been sort of taken from the structured code version. Cell reference is a structure, so it's kind of like a data type. When we see a cell reference and if we put a dot, it'll give us the number of cells east or the number of cells south to retrieve or set. So here player.getPosition returns the cell reference of the player, and we can test the number of cells south. If it's 0, we're on the top row. If we're going north, then we want valid move is false passback. And similarly, if we're on the bottom row, so for this, use the ns, the constant, set as integer equal 4, as the handy tip gives us here, the IntelliSense. And west. So yes. So and now if we head west and we're on the left-hand edge, we want to return valid move. And if we're at the right-hand edge and we're at the right-hand column, we want valid move to be returned as false again. And I've put them all in. I've put these all in the same select statement. You could have a case statement. You could have else ifs here, but as they're all returning the same valid move is false, I think it's a bit neat to put it all into one select statement. And you'll see I've added a couple of handy little error messages. So if they enter a north-south, if they don't enter one of these valid directions, they say please enter a valid command with valid move back as false. And here they see you moved off the grid, please enter a valid direction. So when you invoke this method, the user gets to see a handy message. And just to remind you that when valid move is passed back false, it loops back to the beginning because the condition for leaving this data entry loop is that valid move is true. Okay, so that's the first extension there.